Scott Morrison is in Washington, where he has spoken at the official residence of the Australian ambassador and laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier.
We will bring you a wrap of all of that shortly, but first, here's a piece of the Prime Minister's media conference, which happened just a few moments ago.
It's wonderful to be here with you, and I really wanted to start off today on behalf of Jenny and I, but not just us two, but all of us from right around Australia, to say thank you to both of you for what has been an outstanding ambassadorship that you've led here in Washington for Australia. When Joe came here, and the relationships which he's established here, the initiative around the 100 years of mateship, this is, those of you who know, is 100% Joe. It is how he looks at life, it's how he looks at the world, how he looks at others. It's about friendships, it's about personal connections. And what you've been able to do with 100 years of mateship, mate, has been absolutely extraordinary. And I think it's been a lesson to right across our missions all around the world. That we had all the heads of missions down in Canberra recently. And I was talking to them, I said, you guys are in the people business. You're in the business of getting on with other people and ensuring that we have great relationships with other people all around the world. It's because it's through those relationships that our heads of mission, our ambassadors, our high commissioners form, that we're able then to pursue through those very important personal relationships, the broader policy agendas and alignment of our interests, and even dealing with the odd difficult issue, things like this. And where you invest in those relationships, then you can be a great success as an ambassador. And so, Joe, you've taken that to a whole new level. You've set a great bar for others to follow, and I want to thank you and Melissa for the tremendous job you've done, but particularly with this 100 years of mateship. And you know, when we've come here, and I welcome all of the guests who are here, but particularly the members of the Cabinet who are here. I can see Secretary Lighthizer down there, and others who are here today. We really appreciate you coming, and we were completely overwhelmed by the response that we've had. And in particular, standing there yesterday morning on the South Lawn with the President, and to be able to look out at around 5,000 people there, seeing them waving Australian and US flags with both hands, not just holding an Australian flag or some holding a US flag. They're holding both, and they're waving both. And to see that as an Australian Prime Minister standing next to a US President, it just said everything about the nature of the relationship that we have. But to see that topped off last night in what was the most magnificent, spellbinding, magical night, crafted out of the imagination of Mrs. Trump. She was, wasn't she, Jen? She was across every detail of last night. And from the very touching remarks that the President made, referring to my great-great-aunt, I heard the start of the poem. I said, that's Aunt Mary's poem. I'll have to tell him that when he's finished. And he ended up telling me. So, that's the sort of detail that shows an affection. It shows a closeness. And then to finish off, so I was already a bit weepy after that. And then when Waltzing Matilda played on the encore, that was just something. There was any Australian, I think, there was quite a few Americans who had been overcome by the emotion of that moment. AB was overcome by it. It was great. And so I think that said it all about the relationship that we have together. And so we come here together this afternoon in a very Australian way, around a barbecue and a few drinks and amongst friends, and to enjoy each other's company in the spirit of mateship. And that's really what this relationship is. And that's how it'll keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. But the thing, you know, politics can be a really rough business. But the elegance of politics, I think the highest form of politics, is when you're able to speak very clearly about the things you believe in. And in this visit, the President and I have been saying the same things. Our belief in free markets, our belief in the power of the individual, our belief in peace and in liberty, the rule of law, You know, the things that have made the world the safe place that it is and has been since the end of the Second World War, and together we've been building that. And these are things that sometimes we can take for granted. We can take for granted freedom of religion, we can take for granted any number of things. Things that have been so important that Australia and the United States have worked so closely together to create this peaceful, liberal democracy that we both enjoy, and that we're keen for others to understand and be able to enjoy as well. These things are important in the world today, and Australia and the United States stand together for these things, and we will always stand together for these things. So this afternoon I think we can celebrate that, we can enjoy it, and we can have a few drinks, and we can get to know each other even a bit better more. We're going to plant a tree, which is going to be great, which I understand is already planted.
Out this morning.
Joe was out there with a shovel this morning. Fantastic. So let me just conclude by saying thank you all for being here this afternoon, and I want to finish where I began, and that is to thank Joe and Melissa, Ambassador Hockey and Mrs. Hockey, for the wonderful, wonderful job they've done here for Australia in the United States. You'll miss them, I'm sure, in this role in particular, and it'll be our gain. Because we're going to see a lot more of them back home in Australia. And when they return and the things that they do back in Australia, I'm sure they'll do tremendous things. But what you've been able to do here, Joe, has been truly extraordinary. And a grateful nation thanks you. All the best, everyone. Cheers.